Hey everybody, Christina here from Creations with Christina. Welcome back to another Stampin' On Friday video. Today I'm going to be making a card using the Heart Swirl stamp, background stamp from Simon Says Stamp, and a Simon Says Stamp die that is called, I think it's called Sweetheart Tag. These are two things that I purchased back in February that I don't think I ever used, so I wanted to give them a try. I have to work on an anniversary card, and I figured kind of heart themed is a good way to do. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to be doing a little bit of a watercolor, or a little technique, not with watercolors, but with gelatos and the background stamp. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little embossing buddy here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a nice little powder on here, and that just takes any oils that maybe I got on the watercolor paper from my fingers or any static. And I'm using the smooth side of my watercolor paper. And then I'm going to take my background stamp and go ahead and ink that up using my Versamark ink. So I'm just going to put a nice even coat on here. I'm just leaving it laying flat on my desktop here. Whoops. As it flips out of my hand. And I'm just going to put a nice good coat of the Versamark. Now my Versamark pad probably needs to be a little re-inked up, but we'll make it work. And let me just go grab a piece of scrap paper before I forget, because I always forget to bring scrap paper to my desk for some reason. Okay, so now that I have that all inked up with the Versamark, I'm going to go ahead and take my watercolor paper and just put it right down onto this background. And then I have my scrap paper that I can put down, and I'm just going to go ahead and put some pressure and really stamp out that image onto that watercolor paper. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and peel that up. And now what I'm going to do is, you can't see it, but I'm going to go ahead and add some white embossing powder to this. Make sure I got everything nice and covered. I'll go ahead and funnel this back into my embossing powder. I love the Hero Arts white embossing powder. It's absolutely one of my favorites. Put that lid back on, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my heat gun. I'm going to take my tweezers, because it's a little easier to hold these when I have my tweezers in hand. And I'm just going to go ahead and heat set that white embossing powder. Okay, so I went ahead and finished up heating up the embossing powder, and I don't know, maybe you can see in the light how pretty that is. But what I'm going to do next is we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to close up my Versamark before I forget to do that. I'm going to grab my Big Shot, and we're going to do a little die cutting on this first. So I have my Big Shot, and then I have my magnetic platform and my two dies, or my two acrylic plates. And then I just took the Simon Says Stamp Sweetheart Tag die and just set that down. And I'm kind of setting it a little bit to the right, not so much in the center of the embossed piece, because I'm actually going to go ahead and cut off a little piece of this later on as I'm putting the card together. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this through. And then I have a little opening here that I'm going to use for the window of my card. So I'm just going to grab another piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut this one more time, and then I'm going to use that frame that I die cut and use that for my window piece. Okay, so there's my framed piece. Before I start assembling my card, I'm going to start doing my watercoloring with my gelatos. So I'm going to start off with the peach color, and I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down onto my mat here. This is the Ranger craft mat, and it's great for heat embossing and doing that kind of stuff. And then I'll just add some water to that, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this onto this piece. I didn't know how dark I wanted it to be, so I thought going from my mat instead of taking the gelato right to the paper was the better way to go when I'm first starting out here. You need to just add some more to your craft mat, a little bit more water. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the guava, which is one of my favorites, and these are just like a chapstick, and I'm just going to actually put this right onto here because I want this color to be a little bit more intense. I'm going to go ahead and spray some water onto my craft mat, and we're just going to go ahead and take that color and just kind of spread it out a little bit, and it resists the embossing powder. So and it resists all the white pieces, and it helps those little hearts from the background stand out a little bit more. I'm also going to take the silver gelatos and add a little bit of silver to this too. This I want to be kind of subtle. I don't want it to be too harsh on the background. And we're just going to go ahead and kind of put that into different places, and it kind of gives a little bit of a shimmer metallic look to it. Alright, so there's my background piece, and now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and heat set this to help it dry a little faster. Okay, so that's pretty much dry now. I'm just going to trim off a little bit off the one side. So maybe about, I'm going to start off with a 1/4 of an inch. And that might do it. Let me just grab, I have all my little samples here on my desk of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I just want to see if that is about the size I want to do, or if I want to do a little bit more. And I think I'm going to leave it there. No, I think I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to do about 1/8 of an inch. There we go. So I ended up taking a little less than a 1/2 inch off the side of this, and now what I'm going to do is start putting my shaker card part together. So I have a piece of acetate that currently has a ton of embossing powder on it, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to my card. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some adhesive right to the back. I'm going to take my acetate and put it right over that opening, that little window section. Just like so. So then I have a nice little window for my card. I'm going to go ahead and take this frame from the little Sweethearts tag die, and it's going to go right in there. So I am going to add some adhesive to the back of that. I'm just going to grab my tweezers because I find this easier for me to hold it. And I love this Zig 2-way glue pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and dot some adhesive right onto this frame. Alright, so I went ahead and added the adhesive on there, and I really like that pen because I feel like I have better control over doing small die cuts like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and lay this in. Now this is the white cardstock, the plain white cardstock that I die cut. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and flip this over. Make sure that's adhered nice and good. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my big huge roll of the foam tape. This is the 3M foam tape. And I am going to go ahead and peel this off. Now you can also use, because I know a lot of people use the Fun Foam and put that on, but I find I have this on hand. I'm not going to go out and buy Fun Foam just yet. Maybe sometime in the future I will. But this works for me right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a little frame going around that window piece. I'm going to have to do a little bit of piecing on this one because there's, you know, these weird little shapes there. Alright, so I went ahead and added all of my foam adhesive to the back, and I added a ton. And then I went and picked out some pattern paper that I'm going to use as a background that'll go in the back of this shaker piece. Before I go ahead and adhere that down, I want to go ahead and add some sequins. So I pulled out my white sequins, and I have the 4mm marshmallow from Pretty Pink Posh and the 6mm flat ones. So I am going to go with those. Now I'm thinking I might want to add another color, maybe pink, but we're gonna try this first. Okay, so this is why sometimes I always add my sequins before I pull my tape off, but I think no matter how hard I try, I end up banging this and getting sequins stuck on that tape anyway, even when I'm trying to take the sequins or the backing off and I have the sequins in already. Am I the only one who struggles there? All right, that was a lot of sequins, but I think I want a lot. Get off there. Okay, and then I pulled out my pink ones too, and I'm just going to put a small sprinkling of those since there's so many colors in here, or so many sequins in here already. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my pattern paper and just set that right on top of that piece. Oh, I love, oh, the pink is really nice. I'm glad I went with pink. I wasn't sure if that was going to work, but I really like all of the sequins in there. Nice and packed, and it still has a nice little statement piece to it. I'm going to go ahead and trim off this pattern paper. There we go. So that is the pattern paper trimmed off. And now I think I'm going to just add a little bit of twine to this. And I have this big roll of May Arts, not Maya, I was going to say Maya Road, May Arts twine. And I'm just going to wrap this around a couple of times and do a nice little bow at the bottom. Alright, so I ended up not liking this card, so I thought I would come back and kind of show you what I did differently. Originally I had silver going in the back of this, and I did not like that. My plan was actually to use a whole different pattern paper, but I didn't like that pattern paper after I saw what the pink looked like on the Gelatos piece. So I ended up heat embossing a piece of cardstock that was in the liquid platinum, and I absolutely love that, and I kept it at a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, so it makes it easier for me. So there is an easier way. Thought I would just show you the way I, figuring these things out as I go here. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim this down using my paper trimmer so that my piece is a little bit smaller. It might be a little difficult since I have a little embellishment there in the way, but it did give me a line so that I can go ahead and trim that right along there, and that is a way better look for that piece. And for this, I'm not going to add a sentiment to the front. I'm going to add a sentiment on the inside, which you guys know I normally don't add sentiments on the inside. I always put them on the outside, but for this card I thought it'd be more fun to have that on the inside. And plus, we're going to an anniversary party this weekend, and we're giving a gift that's going to be from a group of us. So I just wanted to keep it kind of simple, so have a just plain old simple sentiment that says happy anniversary. I'm using my Martha Stewart block, and if you guys have been following me for a long time, you guys know this is my go-to block for stamping sentiments, especially on the inside of my cards, because I tell you, I cannot stamp straight for anything if I was doing just a regular handheld block. So I like the foam feet, and I like the smaller one of the Martha Stewart one. I have the big Versamark one, but I really like this one for doing my sentiments on the insides, just because I feel like I have a little bit more control over it, and the fact that it's very close to the same size as the inside of the card, so it helps me kind of line it up. If I center it, it helps me line it up. So the liquid platinum is definitely way better. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, a list of supplies are down below in the YouTube description and over my blog if you want to check them out. And I will also leave a link to the Stampin' On Friday playlist down below in the YouTube description if you guys want to go ahead and check out my other videos. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.